These are the Sunday recommendations for my free email list for April the 7th, 2022. This week's blog post is on the James Museum of Western and Wildlife Art in St. Petersburg. It includes the museum's exterior and entrance hall and the bronzes on the entrance floor. After postponing a visit to the James for several years because I'm not a huge fan of cowboys and Indians, I was reminded once again when I visited that sense of life matters more than the literal subject of a work of art. Second recommendation, William Percy French, Abdul, Abulbul, Amir, 1877. And on a note related to the James Museum, not every artwork that you like needs to be philosophically vetted and approved. I like this very silly poem simply because I can still remember my father's voice as he gleefully read it aloud. I suspect he'd heard the version by Frank Crummett, a vaudeville singer and radio performer. I've given you a link to Wikipedia, which has the long and varied history of this poem by an Irishman. So, here we go. There are many variations to this poem. The sons of the prophet are brave men and bold, and quite unaccustomed to fear, but the bravest by far in the ranks of the Shah was Abdul Abulbul Amir. If you wanted a man to encourage the van or harass the foe from the rear, storm fort or redoubt, you had only to shout for Abdul Abulbul Amir. Now the heroes were plenty and well known to fame in the troops that were led by the Tsar, and the bravest of these was a man by the name of Ivan Skvinsky-Skvar. One day this bold Russian, he shouldered his gun and donned his most truculent sneer. Downtown he did go, where he trod on the toe of Abdul Abulbul Amir. "Young man," quoth Abdul, "has life grown so dull that you wish to end your career? Vile infidel, no, you have trod on the toe of Abdul Abulbul Amir. So take your last look at the sunshine and brook, and send your regrets to the Tsar, for by this I imply you are going to die, Count Ivan Skvinsky-Skvar." Then this bold Mameluke drew his trusty skibook, singing Allah, 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 and with murderous intent he ferociously went for Ivan Skvinsky-Skvar. They parried and thrust, they sidestepped and cussed, of blood they spilled a great part. The philologist blokes, who seldom crack jokes, say that hash was first made on the spot. They fought all that night neath the pale yellow moon. The din it was heard from afar, and huge multitudes came, so great was the fame of Abdul and Ivan Skvar. As Abdul's long knife was extracting the life, in fact he was shouting huzzah, he felt himself struck by that wily Kalmuck, Count Ivan Skvinsky-Skvar. The Sultan drove by in his red-breasted fly, expecting the victor to cheer, but he only drew nigh to hear the last sigh of Abdul Abulbul Amir. There's a tomb rises up where the blue Danube rolls, and graved there in characters clear is, "Stranger, when passing, oh pray for the soul of Abdul Abulbul Amir." A splash in the Black Sea one dark moonless night caused ripples to spread wide and far. It was made by a sack fitting close to the back of Ivan Skvinsky-Skvar. A Muscovite maiden her lone vigil keeps neath the light of the cold northern star, and the name that she murmurs in vain as she weeps is Ivan Skvinsky-Skvar. I told you it was a silly poem. All right, moving on. Anton Arensky, Suite for Two Pianos, No. 1 in F major, Opus 15, from 1888. This is a charming fin de siècle waltz written as a piano duet. I've given you a link to a recording from 1929. Arensky, a Russian composer, pianist, and professor of the Romantic School, was greatly influenced by Tchaikovsky. His students at the Moscow Conservatory included Alexander Scriabin and Sergei Rachmaninoff. A glacier in Antarctica is named after Arensky. Hat tip Teresa H. The fourth recommendation this week is a poem that reminds me of the song Swingin' on a Star. DianeDuranteWriter.com has hundreds of posts on sculpture, painting, architecture, and my other obsessions. To join the free Sunday Recommendations email list, visit the URL on the screen or email me. And you can say, "Well done, Diane," or support my work and receive rewards by means of the tip jar on dianerantewriter.com. As always, thank you for listening.